Look at this photo carefully. A small bird, feeding a chick that is nearly 3 times its own size, working herself to exhaustion, flying back and forth constantly, bringing food again and again to a baby that isn't even hers. She doesn't know that. She has no idea. As far as she's concerned, this is her own child. But it isn't. Somewhere, weeks earlier, while she was away from her nest for just a few seconds, another bird slipped in, removed one of her own eggs, replaced it with an egg of its own, an egg so perfectly disguised, she never noticed the switch. And when that egg hatched, the imposter chick did something even more disturbing. It pushed her real children, her real eggs, out of the nest, one by one, until it was the only one left. This isn't a rare accident. This is a deliberate strategy, refined over millions of years, practiced by one of the most sophisticated con artists in the entire animal kingdom. Today, we're going inside the disturbing, brilliant biology of a bird that has built its entire existence around deceiving other species into raising its young, and the evolutionary war this deception has triggered. Meet the common cuckoo. At first glance, it looks unremarkable. Gray, streaked feathers, a slender build, often mistaken, at a distance, for a small hawk. But its appearance isn't what makes this bird extraordinary. It's what it refuses to do. Common cuckoos never build a nest, never incubate their own eggs, never feed their own chicks. In fact, in most cases, a mother cuckoo never even sees her own offspring at all. Instead, she does something biologists call brood parasitism. She finds the nest of a completely different species and tricks that species into raising her child for her, entirely, from egg to adulthood, while she moves on, completely uninvolved, often already searching for the next nest to target. This isn't laziness in any simple sense. It's an entire evolutionary strategy, refined and perfected across millions of years. And to understand how sophisticated it really is, you have to watch exactly how it unfolds. A female cuckoo spends hours, sometimes days, quietly watching potential host nests, learning the pattern, learning exactly when the host parents leave to feed, waiting. Then, in a moment, when the host bird's nest is briefly unguarded, she moves, fast. In a matter of seconds, she lands in the nest, removes one of the host's own eggs, and lays one of her own in its place. The entire act, from landing to leaving, can take less than 10 seconds. 10 seconds to complete an act of deception that will unfold over the following weeks without the host ever realizing what happened. And here's where the story becomes genuinely remarkable, because a plain, mismatched egg would be discovered almost immediately. Many host species are highly skilled at recognizing their own eggs, so the cuckoo doesn't leave it to chance. Her egg is disguised. This is where cuckoo biology becomes almost impossible to believe. Female cuckoos don't lay one generic type of egg. Different female lineages, called host races, have evolved to specialize in mimicking the eggs of one particular host species. If a cuckoo specializes in parasitizing a species with pale blue eggs, her eggs are pale blue. If she specializes in a host with heavily speckled brown eggs, her eggs are heavily speckled brown. Researchers studying this mimicry have found that cuckoo eggs replicate not just color, but incredibly specific details. The size of the speckles, how those markings are distributed across the shell, and even patterns visible in ultraviolet light that human eyes can't perceive at all, but that birds can see clearly. This precision isn't accidental. It's the result of an evolutionary arms race. Host species that could detect and reject foreign eggs survived and passed on that ability. Cuckoos that produced better forgeries were the only ones whose eggs escaped detection. Generation after generation, for millions of years, one side got better at spotting fakes, while the other got better at making them undetectable. Some host species have become so skilled at detection that certain cuckoo populations have essentially lost the evolutionary arms race entirely. Researchers studying one host species found the birds rejecting cuckoo eggs the vast majority of the time. But in species where the mimicry has kept pace, the forgery is close to perfect. Even trained researchers examining these eggs side by side sometimes struggle to tell which one doesn't belong. If the forged egg goes undetected, it hatches, usually before the host's own eggs do. And what happens next is one of the most disturbing behaviors in the entire bird world. The newly hatched cuckoo chick, still blind, still featherless, still hours old, begins methodically pushing everything else in the nest out. The host's remaining eggs, any chicks that have already hatched, one by one using a specialized hollow in its back to maneuver each object toward the edge of the nest. And over the side, this isn't aggression in any way we typically recognize. It's instinct, hardwired and automatic, activating within hours of hatching. Within a day, sometimes less, the cuckoo chick has usually eliminated every single one of its foster siblings, leaving itself as the sole occupant of the nest. And here's the part that makes this story almost tragic. The host parents don't notice anything is wrong. Their instinct to feed whatever is in their nest overrides everything else, even as their own biological children are gone. Even as the chick growing in front of them looks nothing like their species, even as it grows to be dramatically larger than they are, they keep feeding it, exhausting themselves, working from dawn to dusk to satisfy a chick that will eventually dwarf them completely. If this story is disturbing you as much as it disturbed me, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps stories like this reach more people. Here's what makes this story more than just a disturbing biological curiosity. It's an active, ongoing, evolutionary battle. Host species aren't defenseless. Some have developed the ability to recognize and physically eject foreign eggs from their nests, using their beaks to pierce and remove anything that doesn't match. Some species have become so effective at this defense that researchers have documented cuckoo parasitism disappearing from entire regions, as the host population essentially won the arms race. Other species have taken an even more direct approach. Some hosts react with intense aggression toward any cuckoo spotted near their nest, mobbing it, attacking it, trying to drive it away before it ever gets the chance to lay an egg. But cuckoos have counter strategies of their own. Researchers have found that host birds actively defending their nests can inadvertently reveal the nest's exact location to a watching cuckoo. The very act of protection becomes the vulnerability the cuckoo exploits. This is coevolution in its rawest form. Not a single trick perfected once, but an endless, generational chess match. Every advance in detection met with an advance in deception. Every improvement in disguise met with a sharper eye. Neither side ever fully winning. Neither side ever able to stop adapting. So why would a species evolve to abandon parenting almost entirely? The advantage, from a purely evolutionary standpoint, is efficiency. A cuckoo that doesn't build a nest, doesn't incubate eggs, and doesn't spend weeks feeding chicks can dedicate that time and energy entirely to producing more eggs. Female common cuckoos can lay a remarkable number of eggs across a single breeding season, spreading their genetic risk across dozens of different host nests rather than investing everything into a single brood of their own. It's a strategy built entirely around numbers and probability. Not every egg will succeed. Many will be detected and rejected. Some host species will win their evolutionary defense. But across enough attempts, across enough unsuspecting nests, enough cuckoo chicks survive to keep the strategy alive, generation after generation. It's not personal. It's not malicious in any way we'd recognize in ourselves. It's simply one of the most efficient reproductive strategies evolution has ever produced, built on deception so precise that entire species worldwide are still being fooled by it today. So the next time you hear the distinctive, almost cheerful call of a cuckoo somewhere in the distance, remember what that sound actually represents. Not a simple songbird, but one of nature's most sophisticated deceivers. A species that survives, generation after generation, by convincing other birds to raise its young as their own. Somewhere right now, in a nest that looks completely ordinary, a mother bird may be feeding a chick that isn't hers, working herself exhausted, completely unaware, because millions of years of evolution built a disguise good enough to fool her completely. If this story changed the way you'll think about the next cuckoo call you hear, subscribe to Birdhearts so you never miss the next hidden mystery in the bird world, and tell me in the comments, did you know this kind of deception existed in nature? I'll see you in the next one.